Hello there, everyone. Thank you for taking the time and joining us today. My name is Sam Russum from Kanoa, and today we are doing a joint webinar between Kanoa and our partner CedarTech to talk about how they have integrated some of their AI solutions into Kanoa MES and Ignition. So again, Sam Russum, I'm the VP of Business Development over here at Kanoa, and I will be your host for today. Little background on me, I have 16 years of experience in manufacturing automation and MES systems. I worked with a systems integrator for a number of years, focused a lot on food, bev, pharmaceuticals, and renewable energy, and joined Kanoa because I just thought the software that we were making on this team was really just solving a lot of the problems that I was seeing out there in the field, and in a better and faster way than I had seen before. So I'm happy to kind of host you today and walk you through both Kanoa and what we do, as well as how we've integrated with CedarTech solutions today. And I am joined by another Sam Leonetti, and Ethan Thomason from CedarTech. Sam, how about you introduce yourself to the team?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Sam. My name is Sam Leonetti. I am a systems engineer at CedarTech, and I have been so for about a year and a half. But I've kind of been in the industry for about 4 years, and I've developed a lot of the functionality in our machine learning and AI solutions that you're going to see today. And yeah, I'm happy to present them to you, and I'll be doing so here shortly.
Great. And Ethan.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ethan, founder of CedarTech. I've been working with Ignition for about 10 years now, and with Kanoa in various capacities for the last 5 years. And I'm really excited to share today what we've been working on together recently.
Awesome. Great. Thanks, Ethan. So a little background on Kanoa and CedarTech before we get started. So at Kanoa, we make Kanoa MES, our flagship product that is a platform for continuous improvements on the Ignition solution. So Ignition is the platform that powers all of this. They are doing things like connecting to a lot of your device data, to your ERP data, helping us to visualize screens and tags. But Ignition is a toolbox on its own. You need to build applications for it to have it provide value, and Kanoa MES is one of those applications. So you can buy Kanoa MES, you can buy our products Kanoa Ops, Trace, and Quality. When you install those into your Ignition gateway, we're going to set up your MES database. We're going to install all of these extra system functions into your Ignition environments to give it MES capabilities. And we are going to give you the application that you are going to see us walk through today that gives you all of your MES configuration, your day-to-day tools to go ahead and run your plant, and a lot of reports and analytics that you can see right out of the box from day one. But what you get on day one is not the end of your journey. Since we build all of this on Ignition, you can use all of those tools in Ignition to continue to expand and extend this solution as much as you need. So if you need custom operator screens or a special report or some custom workflow, you have all the power of Ignition and now Kanoa to implement that. Out of the box, we deliver things like OEE and downtime, production counts, production scheduling, tracking, routing, eForms, SPC, and a lot more than that. So if you like what you see today, feel free to follow us on our website, set up another demo with me, and I'll walk you through more of the basics of the platform. Sam, do you want to go and give a little background on CedarTech? Or Ethan?
Yeah, I'm not Sam, but I'll go ahead and give the introduction. CedarTech is a gold certified Ignition integrator with a focus on delivering modern solutions, primarily in the MES space. We work across a wide variety of industries, including automotive, food and beverage, and mining. So we really understand the unique challenges that each industry faces. We've delivered numerous projects from large SCADA and MES implementations down to custom visualization and reporting to help our clients understand what is happening real time, as well as to monitor trends. The tools have improved so much in the last decade, and we're really excited to be involved in the next generation tool set.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Ethan. So let's talk a little bit more about what we're going to be doing today. So congratulations. Step one is done. We have done the welcome and the introductions already. So next, we're going to talk a little bit about Kanoa's partner program and our approach to AI and how companies like CedarTech fit into that. And I'll talk a little bit about some of the foundations that you get with Kanoa that empower AI solutions like what CedarTech is going to show you. Then we'll get into the real demo. They'll show off the Unity game engine and the predictive downtime and chat functionality they have built in to Kanoa and Ignition. I will then kind of take back over and show a little bit of what we did on the Kanoa MES side to help integrate this solution and kind of make it all feel like one seamless platform. We'll have a little bit of a discussion around the future possibilities that we see with what's been built, and open it up there to more of a Q&A and some closing remarks and things like that to close out the session today. So a little bit about Kanoa's partnership program. So we have our partnership program called the Friends of Kanoa. There's a number of different designations that different companies get within this program. Systems integrators being the companies that are very good at implementing our software and getting it to work within your plant. And MES design consultants. So there's quite a bit of overlap usually between integrators and consultants, but these are consultants really are showing that they specialize in MES principles, that they can really look at your business requirements and your specific manufacturing needs and help tell you how an MES like Kanoa can be configured and customized to solve those specific problems. We have some infrastructure partners that provide hardware and software that supports an ecosystem that we are also in. Manufacturing communities, which are kind of educational or other kind of community groups that we get involved in to promote smart manufacturing around the world. And what we're focused on today, AI applications. So one of the reasons that we do that is Kanoa's approach to AI is to not be prescriptive about the AI that we provide to you. We want to enable our customers and our partners to use any type of AI engine that they want. And that our job is to make sure that the data that you're generating through Kanoa and Ignition is exposed and open and available for consumption by some of these engines. This is an intentional choice, right? AI is a new landscape, and a lot of companies have different levels of comfort and capability within this space, right? So some really want to make sure that they are controlling all of their data and everything is on premise and never goes outside of the plant. Other companies have made multi-million-dollar agreements with large AI companies, and it would be silly to not use those and plug those into the engine as well, right? So we really want to stay flexible. We want to have our partners or our customers bring their own AI and other data intelligence solutions, leveraging the data that you are getting from Kanoa. So two very specific ways that we do that are through our open Kanoa core database and our system functions. So this Kanoa core database, which you see a couple of tables of up here, is professionally designed to handle large MES data sets with elegance, speed, and accessibility. This is an open platform. Your systems can be querying these tables directly. You could be using our stored procedures. You could be using our view tables. And this includes all of your configuration data and all of your MES production data, designed in such a way that it is human readable and understandable by AI engines to kind of go through and parse and get some insights from. The other tool available to you are our system functions and the Kanoa MES API. So when you install Kanoa into your Ignition gateway, we add something like 400 system functions into the platform. And actually, let's walk through some of the code you're seeing on the screen now, because this is going to be more of a technical session. We're going to talk code a little bit here. This is a pretty common way to be getting some data in and out of Kanoa's MES system programmatically. I'll take something like an asset ID and a start and end date. I will organize that into a dictionary that I am passing into one of our system.kanoa functions. I'm doing a little utility wrapper around it to turn it into a more human readable format, and then printing out the results. So in this case, for asset ID 112, which is one that we're using today in the session, I look at all of the downtime for the month and print out how much of it was running and how much time we were faulted. Also, notice I do have a couple of documentation pages linked in here. So if you did want to see some of the resources that I'm referring to, go ahead and check out some of those links. It's also generally just in docs.kanoa.ai if you want to go ahead and explore yourself. So when it comes to how CedarTech decided to use some of these tools, so CedarTech wanted to go ahead and build an AI that leveraged Kanoa and leveraged the Ignition platform. Some of the requirements that they were bringing in were that it needed to be able to be hosted on site, that it didn't need to be a system where you control all of the data and it never goes off site and out of your control, that you can leverage the data that Kanoa MES is generating, and that you can deliver real-time insights based on that data. To help support this effort, they also ended up building a Unity game engine simulated factory to send a lot of the data into Kanoa and the engine. So technically unrelated to the AI, but very cool, and something that was very appealing kind of for the demo that we were putting together. So the result is this integrated add-on to Ignition and Kanoa from CedarTech that really does just work seamlessly within the rest of the Kanoa application. So that you can just, within the same MES that you already know, start to access the chatbot or access some widgets and other features showing some of the material CedarTech's made today. So a little bit behind the scenes of what is going on here in the architecture of how this all works. So as I mentioned, we have our Unity game engine. This is simulating boxes on conveyors that are going to a palletizer. Different colored boxes are different difficulties. And you could also change the speed and quality, and then the palletizer jams under certain unfavorable conditions. All of that data gets sent to Ignition via the web dev module. So in Ignition, we get a set of tags for things like box counts by type, the outfeed, and the state of the equipment that's out there on the line. We then map those tags into Kanoa. So Kanoa MES has a standard UDT that accounts for things like those in-feed, out-feed, and state tags. Though notice that I'm not doing that very directly, right? We do have this bad in-feed count here. I have these separate colored box counts up here. We'll show you a little bit later in the demo exactly why I did that, leveraging our item state and event system. And then finally, we actually integrate this in with the AI, right? So we are sending our counts, our downtime events, any event history, all of that data that is accessible to Kanoa is now accessible in the CedarTech AI platform. And currently they are sending back to us some real-time insights around downtime and a chatbot utility that can help you query some of the Kanoa data in real natural language. So that is what we're going to be seeing today, but enough of talking about it. Let's go ahead and actually get into this demo. Sam, do you want to go and share your screen and start showing people what you've built?
Absolutely, thank you.
Great.
All right. So let me first explain that what we are building has two major parts, essentially, just as Sam just alluded to. We have machine learning. We're utilizing machine learning, traditional, and generative AI. The first solution I'm going to show you here is our Machine Learning Studio, which is a platform for developing and deploying machine learning models directly in Ignition. So first, I'm going to go over the demo of what is essentially our finished product, right? Being a machine learning model for predictive downtime, which is deployed and constantly making predictions from data being ingested from our manufacturing line. So if you look on our right, we have our virtual manufacturing line, which is a palletizer, and its job is obviously to stack boxes that are fed into it, whatever type they may be. We have three different types of boxes: red, which contain the heaviest items, blue, which are a little bit lighter, and yellow, which are a little lighter yet. We also have controls, as Sam alluded to as well, with for line speed and quality, which may represent, how much a box has been smashed up during shipping or whatnot. And if you look here on our left, which was this dashboard, which was built actually using Kanoa's built-in dashboard editor right in the application. This is displaying our model's outputs, being the % chance of downtime on our line based on current conditions. And before I start, I'm actually going to go into Kanoa to our palletizer asset here and start a new production run so that it will start recording our metrics so that we can do that later. Maintenance. Start a big run. There we go. Let me go back to my downtime dashboard. Okay, and so if I start spawning some yellow boxes, I said these are the lightest, you'll see our downtime risk indicator start to creep up a little bit, but it's nothing too concerning. The model has learned that downtime happens very infrequently in this, because a very small amount of boxes is nothing to worry about with this line speed. However, if I start spawning a number of red boxes that I said are the hardest to stack, you'll see our downtime risk stacking very high. And what this is telling us is that in this same situation before, we've had downtime in 90+% of situations. So it's a pretty safe bet. Let's see what happens when these boxes go down the line. That will have a downtime event. Okay, and we did. The idea being that we had a model that was always analyzing what was happening on our line, and it has knowledge on what has happened in similar situations before and can catch downtime before it happens. And hopefully, like you said, we could have everybody not standing around here potentially stop it from happening before it does. But yeah, no, line speed, as I said, the major component in this demo is the box type that you send on the line. But line speed and quality also have a lot to do with the string we're putting on the line, and the model has learned this pattern as well. So if I turn the line speed, like if I turn it way up and I turn our quality way down and I spawn a standard number of boxes, I'll do like 10 blue boxes or so. This is a very risky situation, right? As you see, our downtime risk is spiking very high. Now it's about 50%. We may or may not get a downtime event here. But what I want to compare it to is under a similar number of boxes. Okay, we did get a downtime event. What I want to compare it to is under a similar number of boxes, if I turn our quality all the way up and I turn our line speed all the way down, this should be very easy for the line, right? So I can spawn, I'll turn this up a little bit to actually get there. If I spawn a similar number of boxes, about 10, you'll see that we don't get anywhere near the downtime, the same downtime risk, right? And like I said, our model has learned this situation. But yeah, what's really awesome about this is not just that this is a predictive downtime model, right? It's that this model was trained and deployed 100% in Ignition without writing any code at all. And so I'm going to show you that to you next year. Let me go ahead and reshare my screen for you so it just shows our Kanoa system. Here we are. So, okay, yeah, if I head over into Kanoa here, go to our ML Studio, here is the actual training configuration that I used to train this model. And in this case, this model is a random forest model. As you can see here, this is where I've defined my input features and target features for this model. An input feature being something that you believe may contribute or be an indicator for the event you were trying to predict, right? Which would be, you know, blue box count, yellow box count, red box count. These are the factors that we're taking into account, if you will. But then we also have our target feature being whether downtime actually occurred or not, right? For each feature, we obviously need to have a source for our training data. We have full support for Ignition Historian, where you can just select a tag as well as custom database schemas. And for each, we also have, and this is where you would do that. I can show you that in a second. And for each, we also have an aggregation function to where how you group data, essentially what creates the rows of the training data set. And as you can see, we would be doing that every 10 seconds. Every 10 seconds of historical data would become a different row. And we would determine if downtime occurred in that 10-second window. But yeah, if you need a little bit more customization in your aggregation functions, obviously we have simple average, min, max, count, things that you would normally expect in Historian, but you can also actually write your own aggregation function as well, as I did in this case, because I have the box type being stored in one specific column, and obviously for blue box count, I only want to grab those boxes which were blue, so I wrote a little Python expression to do that. Yeah, and after you define all of your features and you want to see what kind of data set they are actually pulling, you can go ahead and preview your data set here. And this is the data set that specific configuration I had configured would pull from our the database columns that I had defined. And you can actually also exclude data based off of the same sort of Python expressions that you may write. So I didn't want to include any where obviously no boxes went down the line. Also where downtime occurred was none. Because that would not be helpful. And so if you wanted to see as well, to go to Historian, I needed to be able to query my previous data set, but all you can do is select a tag, select your provider, and select your exact tag that has historical data. But if after you are happy with a particular model you've trained, we have a release system where you can go ahead and push it to either staging or production. And under each model, you can actually take a look at your accuracy measurements, right? You can take a look at different accuracy metrics and compare them to other versions that you've trained using this configuration. The idea being that if you wanted to, you could train on different data sets, compare the accuracy of the resulting models, and deploy which one you want to use in production accordingly. Also, you can view SHAP charts for each model, which allows you to determine what features are actually contributing to the event you're trying to predict. If you read this chart and notice that a particular feature doesn't have any correlation at all, it might be best to swap it out with something else, try something new. It's very much an iterative process. You go through, you try things, and you follow the scientific method very well. But yeah, it's very much an iterative process. And the results of this are useful in themselves, even if you don't want to even do the live predictions I showed you, because effectively what this is root cause analysis. And what we can see from this chart is that our red box count has the greatest effect as to whether downtime is going to occur or not. You can read this by saying, when red box count is high, right? When red box count is high, our chance of downtime increases, right? And it increases such that it is a lot more than the other features, right? But after you go ahead and do all that and are happy with your model, it's time to go ahead and load this model into a deployment slot for deployment. Like I said, you can do that all in Ignition as well. So this is our deployment slot over here in our deployment section. Behind the scenes, this is just a UDT. So connecting your screens to the output of your desired model is very simple. The idea of a deployment slot is so that if you want to retrain a particular model on new data, and then push the updated version to all screens that may be using the old version, you can easily swap out the model in that particular slot. And let's say you had 15 screens, all of those would be updated without you having to open the designer, right? This is where I fed in my live data sources. This is the blue box count that's actively on the line. And this is what is being fed. I have the same process for that as I did for the training data. You can just select a tag, and that is what data will be fed into the model iteratively. But yeah, everything I've just explained is involving our machine learning studio. Let's talk a little bit about how we are leveraging generative AI alongside Kanoa MES to give us easier access to our MES system and data. So first, let's just head over to the production order screen. We can just ask for that, right? Navigate over to the production order screen. And there we go, and it navigates us there. So as Sam previously explained, Kanoa MES is tracking all of our production OEE metrics, as well as how they relate to our different production orders. So if I want some of that data in any particular format, or sorted by a particular OEE metric for a given asset, all I have to do is ask for it. And I have these pre-prepared prompts here, but you can type this in as well. So I'm asking for availability here, but I could also ask for performance or OEE. I'm asking for this week, but I could ask for any particular time period. So if I ask for my top 3 production orders by availability for Dallas SRC 139 for this week, we get those, right? And I asked for the top 3, so it gave me the top 3. Likewise, if I wanted to get just my OEE for a particular asset over a given time period, I can just ask that. I can ask give me the OEE of Dallas Presso 105 for this week, right? And it will give me that answer for it. We'll find that in our Kanoa system. But yeah, another example, if we go and we ask for our top downtime reasons for a particular line, I will say, give me the top 3 downtime reasons on Dallas Press 105 for this week. It will give me those, and we've pre-prepared a couple beforehand, coded. And as you can see, we have some unassigned downtime, right? So what's really cool, so let's just to prove that this is actually pulling the data from the system. If I go in here to our Kanoa MES system under Press 105, the one I just queried, I go to downtime. As you can see, we have a lot of unassigned downtime. So let's go ahead and recode this as something else. We'll say art issues, right? There we are. And so let's requery that. As you can see, we have 24 minutes of unassigned downtime right now. So let's just go ahead and query that again. As you can see, our unassigned downtime has gone down from 24 minutes, and that has been assigned to art issues. So yeah, that tool set was able to actually reach out into our Kanoa system and find out that what are downtime issues for that week. And you can do that for the month, for the year. It's designed to be very instantaneous reporting, essentially. So you don't have to have a report for all these things. You can just ask for it however you want it, and you get it.
Let me briefly interrupt you there, Sam. One of the nice things that we're doing in Kanoa that enables that is that we're not ever like pre-caching data for you. So when an AI engine like CedarTech says, give me all the downtimes, it's not going to a temporary table or anything like that. It is going to the real data, and the stored procedures and functions that we're calling are optimized to be able to deliver that very, very quickly without needing to pre-process it.
Awesome. Yeah, very much so. And that helps a lot whenever we're actually developing this as well. No complexities in that front. But yeah, I will also add that, so the idea of this is the tool set that this model has access to is completely customizable. We're really excited for it. We have a ton of ideas as to how this could really streamline how you use your MES system. And we're really excited to hear from the community as well, and expand its functionality to be as useful as possible. And yeah, we've had a lot of help from the Kanoa team as well in doing that thus far. I want to add that this model has multimodal capabilities as well, meaning the model can take images into account, just like ChatGPT or any other AI platform you may be familiar with. So I just uploaded a picture of a broken gear there. Let me actually show you again there so you can see it. We have a picture of a broken gear, right? And the idea being I can just ask, and I could upload that picture. I could say, what is wrong in this image, right? And it can analyze it for us. And it obviously tells us that this gear has visible signs of wear and tear, has some broken teeth or whatnot, right? We've already thought of so many use cases for this technology in automated quality checks, maintenance, data extraction from forms, which is actually something that we have explored a little bit as well. And let me preface to you as well that everything that you see here, including these capabilities, just as Sam said in the beginning, is deployable on site as well. So this isn't just a big cloud. It doesn't require sending your data off to the cloud. You can deploy. Now, granted, the computing requirements are a little bit higher than you would expect out of a normal server, right? But it is very possible and reasonable to deploy this on site as well. But yeah, that's pretty much it for that. I'm going to hand it back over to Sam, and he's going to show us how a lot of this is configured in Kanoa MES behind the scenes.
Awesome. Yeah, that was great, Sam. Thanks a lot for showing us all that.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm sharing my screen now. Great. So let me walk you through some of the things that we did in Kanoa to enable what you just saw from the CedarTech team there. So first, and I'm going to do this fairly quickly, is that we did kind of the basic Kanoa ops configurations for this line, right? Where I have my system of creating assets. I have my Memphis machining assembly box palletizer, which I have OEE enabled and set it up with specific modes and with specific states. We also set up our materials. So within my Kanoa assembly, I have an item for each of the type of box that can go through the line, and pallets, which is what I say that these lines actually make. And I set up all the production rates that we need for that equipment. So when we have all of that together, that is really the basics that we need to get this line running in Kanoa, right? So we have the box palletizer. I'm going through and we're updating it in the run control, as Sam started earlier, to start a pallet run. But hey, we're done with that for now. So maybe I'll come back into our modes and I'll throw this back into engineering mode for a bit, since that's what we're doing. We're kind of working on it and experimenting with some stuff. And since we're now tracking all of this data, let me go ahead and bring up an Ignition Designer and show you where we got some of this from. So we talked about how a lot of the data gets deployed back as tags, right? So here's the data that we're getting fed in from that Unity engine. And I'll also show you that we have access to those deployment slots and the actively deployed model here in real time as well. So now we need to go through and we start to map some of these tags into the Kanoa UDT. So if you've seen me do one of these demos before, I'm usually not getting into the Ignition Designer, right? So we're going a little bit more advanced here. I'm getting into our box palletizer. I'm looking at our asset inputs. And this is where I'm getting things like my outfeed count by just directly tying that to their palletizer outfeed tag. Similarly, their state tag is pretty simple. If it is in the running state, they give this back to us as text. We're putting it as a 1, which is our code internally for a running state. Where it gets a little bit more interesting is how we've configured the in-feed counters for this. So usually in Kanoa, you have an in-feed count that works like this. Currently, this is disabled. I'll show you why. And what happens is when this tag increments or changes, we trigger a tag change script event, right? So I'm coming here into scripting, into, wait, that's a little funny. How'd that happen? Give me a minute. In-feed count of the script. Oh no, maybe I deleted it while I was practicing with something else. Give me a minute. I'll pull it. So I'll show you the outfeed count instead. So outfeed count, look at its script. Oh no, wait, what's happened here? Oh, I know what's happening. I'm sorry, everybody. I'm looking in the wrong UDT. This is the in-feed count script that I want to look at. So when this value would normally change, it runs this Python script where we do a couple of checks to make sure that it is a valid change, where I check on the timestamps a little bit. And then if there is a change to the value, we're calling system.kanoa.events.add_count_events with the proper counter to change and the amount that it changed. And remember, in Kanoa, we do have proper documentation on all of these. I can pop up some IntelliSense and see exactly how this function works here. So this is the really simple way to do this, and this is not what I'm doing for the in-feed. This is how our outfeed is incrementing, but I've overridden this for in-feed because I want to take advantage of the fact that we know we have different types of input coming in, and I want to track that. So essentially, we just copied this code, and now for these machine tags, for the blue box counts, I look at its script. It's very similar, right? I added a little bit of extra debugging. We do the same type of check in the beginning, but then it changes down here where I start to create a more complex count event object, including specifying a certain item ID. Since this is on the blue box count, I've hard-coded that blue box ID number in here. That might not be best practice, but it worked quickly for this demo. So now when I see this blue, red, or yellow box count increment, I am calling a proper and registering a count event and registering that to the proper item. The result looks like this, where I come into our run review here. And if I open up any of these runs that we have done, here's the one that we did earlier today. You can actually see how many blue, yellow, and red boxes independently came through on this run. Okay. One of the other things that I want to show is how we use some advantages and tricks that we have in Kanoa to make it so the CedarTech team could take some of the custom things that they developed specific to their ML engine and incorporate that directly into our application without really needing to switch between different projects or anything like that. So the two main ways that we did that, the first is through, notice that the ML Studio is over here in our navigation menu. We have a navigation editor directly in Kanoa, right? So since we talk about a platform that has a lot of out-of-the-box features, but you can expand as you need to, we need to give you ways to make it easily accessible to access all those screens and reports that you've added, right? So here is their ML Studio. They have gone through and set up the build and deploy screens that point to specific Ignition views. And if, say, we wanted to turn off the ML Studio, I would just click this and click the enabled button, and it's not in our navigation anymore, right? So this is one way that you can kind of seamlessly connect custom work that you've done and just make it a part of the Kanoa application. The other trick that they did was, if we're going into the dashboarding system here and looking at our dashboard editor, I will go ahead and pull up, never remember, up here it is, some of the, I think it's the live, what do we call it?
Those are the widgets that are the live.
Oh, thank you, you're right. So if I'm going to start making a new dashboard in here, oh, man. So we have our widget system where you can go ahead and add your own custom widgets into the platform, right? So what we've done is, if I'm looking at the widget editor and I'm looking at some of our live downtime prediction metrics, this is a custom widget that CedarTech has registered within the Kanoa MES dashboarding system. It points to this view path in Ignition. It passes in these types of parameters to generate this widget, right? They did the same thing for the box counts as well. If I look up that one, here's our live palletizer metrics. that shows the certain boxes that are live right now, right? So we go ahead, we add those custom widgets in, and then if I come back to our home screen here and I look at that box palletizer, this is looking at the ML dashboard, and that is just the default dashboard now for this particular piece of equipment, right? And we could edit it here on the fly if I wanted to and see these widgets and things like that, right? So this is, again, one way that we can take some of the custom work that is driving this ML system that CedarTech has made, integrate it directly within your Ignition and Kanoa platforms. So let me get back into PowerPoint and we'll kind of continue with the next couple points of the conversation, which is around how we can see this expanding over time, right? So a couple of the things that we already saw CedarTech do, so creating that profiler, right? You know, we used it to predict downtime, but really profiler is the right way to do that, where you're starting to look for trends and patterns and define them and specific outcomes that you expect from it, whether that be downtime or something else. We also have the chatbot that's connected to certain functions to start to give you more natural querying. And we even kind of showed how this isn't necessarily restricted to your Kanoa and Ignition and manufacturing data too. This is an LLM, an AI engine that can do things like analyze an image quickly on the fly. So we've talked about, between CedarTech and Kanoa, a couple of other solutions around this. Maybe I'll start with one on quality that we've talked about, which is to really two things for Kanoa quality. One is the idea that I could take a check sheet or a paper form that we're using in our plant today and have the AI scan it and automatically create that form in Kanoa. And maybe even to take it a step further than that. But if you've been having this paper form out there on your plant floor for a while, you might not want to lose all of the data that you've recorded on that as you move into a digital system. So I know they've also developed a couple of prototypes around bulk reading scanned in paper forms and automatically inserting that quality data into the Kanoa quality database. So Sam and Ethan, do you guys want to expand on that idea, or just talk about some of the other things that you've been playing around with your AI toolkit?
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right. We've done a lot of things, like you said. We actually have a prototype working for that already. And the idea being that when it comes to pulling data, it's really good at pulling data off of forms because it actually understands, and that's the capability of, like, you know, what an LLM is, understands. It knows what form data looks like, right? It knows what, you know, handwritten, it can understand handwriting, it knows what human handwriting looks like. It knows what handwriting actually correlates to what form, even if it's written a little off center or something like that. So it doesn't have to be as standardized as what would, you know, normally be the case. But just as you said, we have the capability of pulling data off of forms for check sheets that are already in Kanoa, but we also have the capability of creating check sheet definitions based off of paper forms, right? So instead of, let's say they had, you know, 14 different check sheets that they use on the plant floor, instead of creating those all by hand beforehand in Kanoa, what you could do is just feed in the 14 check sheets and it create the actual Kanoa quality equivalent for you, so that you would not have to do that, right? But yeah, no, that it just adds a great amount of ease to it, and it can even be more accurate a lot of the time.
Yeah, so let me jump ahead real quick. What I want to do is I want to kind of get any of your ideas around this too and be able to respond to them. So we'll keep on talking, but we'll also kind of open up the Q&A portion. So if you want to submit a question, the way that you can do that in this Google Meet webinar is you should have these little boxes down here that you can click on, and then it will ask you for a Q&A. In fact, I'm going to drop something in there right now just to make sure it works. Test 1, 2, 3. So if you have any questions or topics that you want us to address, or ideas about ways that you might be able to implement this AI in a use case that you've seen before, drop it over into that Q&A section and we will go ahead and bring it up. As we wait for some of those to come in, something to start with. Sam, do you want to tell us a little bit more? So tell me what's in this CedarTech box, right? I buy this box that can go and be deployed on site. I put it out there. What can you kind of tell me about what's in there and kind of what types of systems it's using and kind of how is it doing this?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a completely custom backend, essentially. But what it is essentially, like I said, it's two parts. It's the ML Studio as well as the generative AI chatbot, right? And obviously, we'll work with customers as to what exactly they need. They may not need both of them, right? So I wouldn't say that something standard comes in the box, right? Mm-hmm. But what you have the capability to do is with the ML Studio, like I said, you don't just get a downtime profiler, right? That's not the only thing you get. You get, whatever, essentially, if you have your own engineers, whatever they can come up with as well, right? And granted, it requires a little bit of, knowledge of machine learning theory along that, right? But you could do things like, OEE prediction, waste count predictions. We've already thought of those at the very least. But yeah, no, it's effectively a platform is the idea, right? So if you have the machine learning studio, what you get in the box is a platform to do whatever your imagination kind of comes up with and what you think would benefit your facility.
Yeah, that's awesome. I do see one question that came in. Not as much a question, more of a correction to me, but that's okay because it's kind of funny. We're apparently going to be up to 650 system.kanoa functions. We've been adding a lot of cool stuff in the traceability side of things, particularly adding a whole new set of functions around defining lot routes and things like that. So I am sure that is how that is increased by 50% since the last time I checked in on it, actually. So thank you, Jason, for that insight. Cool, great to know. So, maybe one of the other things that I've kind of seen as a potential application, right, is one of the pieces of feedback that I've kind of seen around Kanoa is that, we do provide a lot of data, and we provide a lot of data in a lot of different ways. And it can be a little bit complex sometimes for people to know where to go and find a specific, piece of information, especially if it's something they're not doing every single day, right? If I'm a scheduler, I know how to check my schedule. If I'm a production manager, I know how to go and check my OEE for the day. But maybe if I'm an operator on the line and I'm not using these reports and things every day so much, having something like that chatbot there to kind of give me more ad hoc questions and answers, I could see being really, really powerful. Okay,
Yeah.
I see a question that came in. This is a good one. How did we connect the Unity game engine to Ignition? I know I said it was web dev and I stopped it there. Tell me a little bit more about how that actually works.
Well, that's exactly, it is using web dev, but essentially what happens is, there's two, if you want behind the scenes of it, there's two web dev endpoints. One for whenever a box is actually spawned, right? It gives you the qualities of the box, what type it is, the quality, the line speed, it gives you all that. But also one that periodically, that reaches out actually from Ignition to the game and says whenever downtime has occurred, right? All that logic actually occurs on the Ignition side. But its core, it's through web dev, through a number of web dev endpoints. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I can go into any more detail.
There'll be more info on how to contact CedarTech after this if you want to dive into any of those questions a little bit deeper.
Yeah, absolutely.
Next question. I think we talked about this a little bit with the on-site. It's around where is the LLM hosted? Is it the LLM hosted? Is it the edge? How are people kind of using it and sequencing things? You want to dive into that at all?
Yeah, absolutely. In this case, it's hosted in the cloud. For what we just showed you, it's hosted in the cloud, but we actually, our first iteration of what we did for this, whenever we were developing, the prototype of it, was actually done on my personal server. So yes, it's hosted in this case in the cloud, but it can also be hosted on site. The compute requirements, it does require, I shouldn't say this, it benefits greatly from having a GPU, so put it that way. And I know that's kind of hard to come by when it comes to rack mounted servers a lot of the time, but I know it can be done. So it benefits greatly from having a GPU. It's not required actually, but it's, let's put it this way, it makes it a much more enjoyable experience.
We've actually tested it with CPU only, with a newer generation processor, and it can do it. It's not the quickest thing in the world.
Yeah,
there's a lot of different ways you can do it.
And I wouldn't say it's unusable though. That's the thing. It's not unusable by any measure. I would say, like, where I was typing in those queries, they were coming back, in 2 to 3 seconds. If you have a CPU only, we've tested it with, I think, a 9950 X3D chip,
Exactly.
So very new processor. They were coming back in like 6 or 7 seconds, something like that. So it wasn't unusable. It's just but
a little bit slower. But we've tested with a lot of different hardware configurations. We've built several PCs and we've done a lot of cloud testing as well. So we've got the answers. We can work with anything and help advise on the best solution there for the LLM.
Yeah. And it says, how do concurrent LLM prompts get sequence assigned priority? Right now, and the way we have it, it's just a queue-based system, right? It just enters a simple queue. But there are, honestly, we've already been discussing this for architectures where you would have, a large facility where multiple people would be using it at the same time, where it's hosted on site. We do have architectures in place. We have, the engineering behind it to have either multiple LLMs running at the same time, have a kind of a cluster, or to, to obviously prioritize those in a way that makes sense. And we already have thought about it. But right now it's just a simple queue.
Okay. Great, thanks for that, guys. I see that Rich has another question, but before we get to that, I want to hit on Asmund in the middle. He asked around how do we train the model. I know a little bit of the answer to that. So I know that you guys were kind of showing that here in the ML Studio, we do have this whole system for building and deploying, right? I have these downtime predictors with these different slots. This is what you were kind of showing earlier, Sam, right? With the kind of picking out the certain parameters and things like that. So is there anything in there that you want to kind of add to, or for me to click through, or?
Yeah, go ahead and click on that right there.
Yeah.
So you train the model by, and it's not going to work now because I don't have that data set set up, but you essentially you define your feature set here. You define your feature set. You define where all that training data is actually going to come from, right? You set up your aggregation functions. You group your data by the, how it's time period data. So how often do you want a data row to represent, right? And you set up your feature set like that. But how do you specify the amount of test training and validation data? That's actually not, as of right now, customizable, but I'm glad to hear that because that is something that we want to add. Right now, it's just set up as a classic 80-20 split, I believe. 80% training, 20% test. And so in that, right, even if you run the exact same feature set, if you train the exact same feature set twice, you may get a little bit of different results, right? Because it splits it differently every time. But I guess that's the the idea. That's why you have a large data set. But yeah, that's not it's not actually customizable right now. But I'm glad you mentioned that to know that there's demand for it.
Cool.
Yeah.
And then last question for today, and then we'll close things out. We have a question around how do we trust the output from these LLMs? I see that you have our standard little, hey, this is all AI. It could be all wrong. Take it with a grain of salt up here. But maybe tell me a little bit more about how you do kind of validate any of the checks that we have, or is that coming in the future?
Yeah, so what about trust with the output of the LLM safeguarded against hallucination? This is a major developmental thing that we kind of went through while doing this. And we have a backend in place. It different series of routing, error checking, routing different prompts to different locations based off of what you asked for. To put it lightly, it's part of the the backend. I can't go into specifics right now, but like I said, if you do want to reach out to us and kind of talk about that more, we can.
Yeah, you essentially set up guardrails. So when we first started, we had no guardrails. And if the LLM didn't know the answer to a question, like, hey, what product is running on line 4, it would just make up its own answer. So yeah, we've kind of built those guardrails in to say, look, if you don't know the answer, then just go ahead and return and say, hey, I don't know. So yeah, definitely something that's been part of the development process.
Yeah, it's a whole engineering process in of itself to do exactly what you just described.
Isn't it funny? It's hard for AIs and people to convince them to say, I just don't know.
Yeah,
I think we got time for one more that came in too. Is it possible to evaluate the PR measure of accuracy of the AI model? I don't know what that means.
I think that's an or. So is it possible to evaluate or measure the accuracy?
Oh, that makes a lot more sense. I thought the PR accuracy was some AI term I didn't understand. Go ahead.
I was just, are you referring to the LLM or the machine learning models? Because the machine learning models that you create, yes, that's why we have a whole system. There's it shows you all your different accuracy measurements, your recall, your precision, F1 score, things like that. So you have those, you have access to those right in the system, as well as the SHAP charts, like I said, to show exactly what matters to the model. So in that, right, yes, you have the ability, you have tons of tools. There's actually, I didn't even show it in the demo, but there's dependency analysis. If you take a look at Sam, if you just click the little pen that's on the train config 1.
I think.
Oh, my mistake. Actually, go out real quick. Go to the you see where it says staging, the button by the staging. Yeah, you can do that too. That's a different model, but
that's not working right. Unless I'm.
Do it under the staging one. That one's an old model.
Staging one.
Yeah, before we added that. You see it says staging down on the right.
Oh, I see it. Thanks.
Yeah, the one that's next to that. Try that one. Yeah, and you can actually select 2 features like so, and see how they actually affect one another, right? So does having a high line speed cause the red box count to matter more, right? You can do analysis on things like that right in there. So yeah, we have tons of accuracy measurements already built into the application, but like I said, we're always looking to add more for the machine learning models. That is, there's not really a way to I mean, at least that I'm familiar with, to know whether you know, the LLM's getting you the correct data. I suppose that's something you just quality check yourself as of right now. But if there's a better way to do it, we're always obviously open to it.
All right, great questions. Thank you everybody for going ahead and submitting them. Always helpful to get that actual audience participation. So let's talk about a couple of follow-ups. So again, huge thank you to Sam and Ethan and the CedarTech team for building this cool thing, for taking the time to show it to us all today, for helping us out at ICC as we were showing at that show too. If you want to learn more about Kanoa and how we're enabling AI solutions like this and our MES platform in general, I'm your guy. You can contact me at sales@kanoa.ai. I would also definitely encourage you to check out our website, where you can do things like download our product in a 2-hour trial, read about how it works, check out our blog, see your own live demo, check our documentation. A lot of good stuff up on the website. Similarly, on the CedarTech team, you can go ahead and reach them at info@cedartech.com. CedarTech.com is their website, and you will find Sam and Ethan over there. Thank you all again so much for coming in today. This has been our Integrating AI into Kanoa MES with CedarTech webinar. Again, if you want to learn more, check out Kanoa.ai or CedarTech.com. Reach out to us on LinkedIn. There's lots of ways to get a hold of people these days. So we look forward to hearing from you if you want to learn more about Kanoa MES and CedarTech. So thanks again for your time today, everybody, and have a great rest of your week.